Alright, gents, we'll just keep this simple and we'll label this video how a metal brake was made. Now, it's in a tutorial video and it's not going to be titled, how to make one, because obviously I didn't record myself building the damn thing. Which, there are some imperfections with it, which I think can be addressed with some simple fixes, but I'm not sure. But anyways, all this was made with leftover scrap material. These arms were used on my dog kennel I made that I had to redo, and it's since got quite rusted, but there was rebar going through each one of these holes, and same for that. And this was the bottom and top, and the rebar were the bars of the kennel, but it was, the rebar was inserted in. It's not drilled all the way through, but it was inserted in on both ends, and then it was welded to contain the rebar. But I ended up redesigning it, so this was scrap pieces. So I used these as the handles, which they're a little long. I'm probably going to cut them down because it's quite ridiculous. I think the leverage from these handles would, if this much leverage was needed, it would break this little brake. No pun intended. So anyways, this was the mocked up fuel bracket I made that was going to mount, in case y'all are wondering, or if you didn't watch the previous videos, right here. So it would sit like so. The front lip right here would pass through these bolt holes. There, you can see the hole there. And then the top is angled where this curves. So that angle piece would bolt through this floor area and hold it. So it would drop down below this bracket or this support bar, but would sit above this pan hard. And I'm hoping and praying that the travel on this bar with the suspension travel will not raise that end up over there too much higher than this pivot point. I'm thinking this is a midpoint, and without any other additional weight in the car, we did jack this up and raise the suspension as if it would have the body weight on it. Well, actually it would a little bit more than the body weight, because we started lifting the rotisserie arms. It's where we stopped the jack. I didn't want to lift on it too much, but so we added a little bit of extra weight, but it leveled this bar pretty much. It didn't even go past level. So I'm sure hitting a bump was gonna hit it pretty hard. I'm just hoping it won't be enough to hit my damn fuel pump. You made me have to buy another one. And also find a new place to mount it, because that'll make me cry. Anyways, back to the brake. So all is made from scrap other than the hinges and these bolts. I had to go buy bolts, which actually I probably didn't need to buy bolts, because these ended up not being as long as I originally thought they would need to be. So this is a piece of angle iron. All I did was cut some edges off to clear the hinges and to clear these bolts. These bolts were leftovers from the TCI suspension. I changed all of it out to stainless, so these were left over, but used to them. These are just two pieces of angle iron, and granted the size really doesn't matter all that much, but in case you're wondering, it's 2.5 angle iron, both pieces. These button heads are 5/16 bolts. This is a 1/2 inch bolt. This angle on top that I'm using as a clamp is 1.5 inches. I don't know if you can see that worth a damn, but there, 1.5 inches. Anyways, these bolts here are 3/8, along with these bolts that I have holding it into my bench. And I just cut the corners off so it would sit flat, and then I drilled this out and used a burr tool to oblong it so it would clear right. So my original plan was these long bolts to pass through the bench, but they would end up going into this 2x4 that's in the front. So what I did was I actually drilled a little recess in it so the head of the bolt could sit in the recess and it would sit fairly flat, other than the button heads. The button heads on here, I could change these out. If I would have built it professionally, I would have done countersunk Allen head bolts and countersunk them in the steel. So obviously it would sit perfect flat, etc. And depending on what you're bending, if you're bending shit like this is overkill. I mean, you could do this with like half the size of everything I used. And you could use wood screws to screw it to a bench. I use these big bolts because I'm about to be bending some fairly thick stainless. But anyways, this was the original one I bent with nothing more than the vise, these little metalworking pliers, and hammer dolly, just to form the basic form to get a knife. This is more along the lines of what will actually be used because it's going to be longer. It needs to be, I think, 12 inches long roughly, or at least that's what it's going to be. This one's an 11 inch. This one would probably actually work as well. But I just bent all of this using the brake, and it bent perfectly. So, I mean, obviously how it works, in case you don't know, it's a hinged mechanism. You have to do a cutout so the hinged piece can sit center plane. That means this pin is in between these perfectly and is also in between this plane. That way when it rotates, that stays perfect. Now my hinge is off a little bit. I don't know if you can see that, but it actually wants to curve up and over this plate a little bit. That's my one issue that I'm not sure if I can fix by just simply flipping this hinge over to adjust the plane. I played with it and it seems like it was not giving me what I wanted. I'm thinking I just drilled the holes a little bit too far inward. I don't know, I didn't really measure this, I just winged it. Wasn't really that big a deal. I'm not doing precision work here. If this doesn't give me a perfect corner, it's not that big a deal. I mean, these are the corners I'm getting. And that I bent over. So the brake, or this brake, won't actually bend this angle. It only bends 90s roughly. It'll go a little bit past this. Let me take my piece out real quick and I'll show you. So there's 90 roughly. Let me get to the side so you can see. Oh, adjust my camera. Apologies. All right. So there's 90. It'll go as far to there. Now, the nice professional brakes will give you that full angle all the way down flat to this. If you watch videos online, they make some amazing brakes that can do that. I didn't make an amazing brake. I made a quickie brake to do this one fuel bracket, which I'll probably use it for other shit later, but this was the main intent. And I'm ready to get my fuel pump mounted. So I made do. So anyways, what I did was I bent this. And that's as far as it will go. Brought it back down. Took that there rubber mallet and I finished forming it down against this, because this piece is solid once it's cinched down with, hardware. Then, if you want to go past that, I grabbed this piece of bar stock and set it just like that and worked my way down this, and I laid it here, worked my way down that, and got a much crisper angle on this than what it was. So there's my angles. Fairly decent in my opinion for this little quickie brake made with scraps. Anyways, so that's it. If anyone has any questions on this and wants to know more along the lines of how this is engineered, if you couldn't figure it from the video, ask away. I'll do the best I can. About to go in and eat before I bend my actual piece. Give you a quick look at my fuel line setup that I finished getting mounted. So there's my feed line. And there's my return line, that big one up top. Now I'm waiting because this line is not at the right angle that I need it to be. I ordered a 45-degree union, and I'm going to also use a 45-degree, wherever these things are, fitting. This is a straight, but I have a 45 as well for my flex line. So I'm going to use a 45-degree with a 45 union, and it should line me up where I need. This is the stainless I'm going to attempt to bend with that brake. This is 14 gauge. It is hefty. It is heavy. I wanted to do this out of aluminum, but I bought the wrong aluminum. I bought 6061, which I later found out is mainly for welding. It's hardened, and you have to anneal it to bend it. And I don't really have the stuff to anneal it easily. I mean, oxyacetylene torch is really all you need. You can do it with like a candle and a torch, but I'm not gonna go through that hassle. I'm just gonna try to do it with this. If this stainless fails, I'll probably order some softer aluminum and try it again. You can also put it in an oven, but from what I read, the oven has to be at like 500 degrees for 4 hours or some shit. It's ridiculous. But another quick touch up. I still have to figure out how to make my reservoirs work for that. Honestly, I have no clue how I'm gonna do it. And I'm probably gonna end up making spacers, which is gonna kind of suck, because I also will probably have to change push rods out on the Masters. Won't be that big a deal, but more work. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys, and stay tuned. Hopefully this thing will be on wheels in the next month or so. Later, guys.